All right, we have a unique situation here. I thought I would show. I almost got carried away and didn't even think about getting the camera out. I've mentioned a few times, and I'm not sure, if everybody is caught on to it. This rocker panel right here was bent this way a lot, along with the passenger door not fitting worth a toot. I think I mentioned I had to rework this jamb. I had to reshape. Let's see. I had to cut and reshape all down in here and even up in here some to get the door and the jamb to fit right. And it's still not 100% right. It looks right from the outside because I made it look right, but internally it's still. I still to this day don't know if this truck was wrecked or at the factory it was bent up. It don't appear to have ever been wrecked, other than I know this rocker was driven in, because when I got the truck I saw it. It was driven in and driven up. And when things drive in and up, they shrink, they pull together. So my theory is it pulled the back of the corner in, and maybe even the bottom of the corner in a little bit, but the back of the corner more, and drove it up. Now I've gotten most of that out in previous work on this truck. Like I mentioned, getting back down into here. I jacked this jamb a lot to get it back where it was. But I knew when I did that, that the bottom of the jamb was still, the very bottom down here, this lip was still sucked in some. So when I was out, I got the cab upside down today. By the way, hello rotisserie. I'll do another video about that sometime. Back on the rotisserie that I made. I'd made this rotisserie years ago. Anyway, so this side here was still sucked in. Oh, it's probably maybe not quite maybe quarter of an inch, not quite a half an inch, but quarter to a half of an inch. So I was debating whether to try to straighten it, and I was going to just leave it. But if you've learned anything about me by now, I'm a damn perfectionist, and I can't leave anything alone half the time. And I'm also an ex-body man. I did body work a long time ago. I was in my 20s as a job. And so I still have all my tools. This is a Porta-Power. Now this is my second Porta-Power. My first one, my snap-on Porta-Power, which was actually a Porta. There used to be a name, Porta something. I forget the name. The high dollar ones, made in the USA, all that good stuff back in the day that I bought back in the 80s. The ram or the jack, I forget. One of the two finally gave out on me years ago. So I bought this. I think it's a Black Hawk. I'm sure it's made in China, but it works. I was in a pinch several years ago. I had to have one. So this is a Porta-Power. If you don't know what a Porta-Power is, it's basically a ram, a jack, hydraulic jack, just like your pump jack for your car, the scissor lifts, the engine hoist. It's just a hydraulic ram, which is this, and you have pipes, bars. You can add on to them to get different lengths. You got feet. These are little feet brackets. That's a foot bracket, flat foot. That's an angle foot. There's all kinds of them. Hang on, I'll try to show you a few. A square one, a pointy one, a round, another flat foot, a little rubber ball you can push with. For body work, for doing collision repair especially, they're a necessity. You just about have to have one to do any decent collision repair. So what I'm doing here, now that I'm yapping, I'm trying to push this rocker out. Now the thing about a Porta-Power, it's going to push, it's going to spread. And wherever the resistance is the lightest is where it's going to push. The other side, your rigid side, you want to be as rigid. The side that's not going to move, you want to be as rigid as possible. Like you use on a frame machine, you push off the actual frame machine itself, off the rails or the frame of the car, wherever, you'd find a point that's extremely rigid. So the best point I have to push off right here now on this cab is where this crossmember ties into this rail right here. So that's where I'm pushing from. The rail over here, to help it move, I split the bottom of the crossmember right here. That's normally you wouldn't do it, like in collision repair. You probably wouldn't do that. I mean, you could. It depends. All depends on the situation. But I split this rocker right here to make sure that's where it would move and not over there, because I don't want to jack this side out for sure. You can also see this inner rocker has been pushed in right here. If I can show it, see it's straight and then bends in right here. This whole bottom rocker had something done to it for sure. I'm not worrying with the inside. It's okay. I mean, if it was a collision job, you know, I'd have to do it. I'm not going to worry with it. What I am worried about is trying to get this out of the rocker as straight as I can. Like I said, I split this right here. I've got it pushed out. I used a piece of 1/4 inch plate to try to get back in all the way up in here into the corner. When you push just on the flange, it rolls just the flange, and it's still rolling the flange, but it's getting, the leverage is back in here. Another thing about collision work, especially, you know, dent repair, body repair, big repairs, it's important, and I'm not going to do it now. It's important to stap. It's important to hit the metal. It relieves stress in the metal, and also will move it. I've already done it. I'm not going to do it now. And you know, how hard you hit it and where, it just depends on what you're trying to do. I've already wrapped on it pretty good out here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to weld it. This gap here, if you can see it, has closed completely up. I split this with a cutoff disc. It was wider than this out here. So that's how much it's moved and pushed out. And when it did that, when it pushed out, it closed up the inside. So I'm going to weld this with the pressure still on it. I've overbent some, not as much as I'd like, because I'm getting to the point there where all I'm doing is pushing the flange. There's only so much you can bend this stuff before it's going to resist. All this inner structure in here is not going to move unless I split all the way up. And I did that a long time ago. I'm not going to do it again. I don't need to. But anyway, all I'm going to do, I'm going to weld this up, let it cool off. I had split this down here originally and forgot to weld it back up. So I'm going to weld that up, let it cool off. And then I didn't show the jack. There's the hydraulic jack, just a pump jack that you pump. So I'm not going to get the camera. I'm not going to leave the camera on for all the welding. I'm going to weld it, let it cool, and then we'll come back and we'll, depending on how bad it looks, whether I'll show it or not. So I'll come back when I got something more to show. All right, I'm going to remove the jack and let's see what happens. If you watch the rail, you'll see it move in. Just don't know how much. I won't know how much till I watch back the footage. I can tell you that right now I got an extra bubble here. I got to grind down. Let me grind a little. Well, hold on. Yeah. Just so I get a reference point. It's not flat, so. I had to weld that spot where I cut it, so it's not flat. Let me grind that weld down. Take about a second. Rest of them later. Some of y'all may be gritting your teeth at me grinding into my primer. I knew that was going to happen, so I had always planned to rework that. So it's just one of those things that had to be done. So I'll fix it. I'm not up into my jam, you know, where it's nice and pretty. It's just right here at the bottom, no biggie. And I knew it was going to happen. All right, let's pull the jack. Notice I got this thing set up this way on purpose. If I put all the poles on one side that have been tipped over, here I can kind of work it in the middle and hold the jack, you know, and do it one hand, one man job. Either one is going to balance. See there, there. See what we got. That is way straighter than it was before. That's within a 1/16 of being straight. Small little dip that you can't see from the camera. And the only way you'll ever see it is to get under here and put a straight edge against it with the door on. And you can't even see it with the door. See the top side where it's rolls into the jam is straight. It's just up under here. Right up under here where it's a little sucked in. Nobody's ever going to see that. Even I won't see it unless I look for it. If I wanted to make it perfect and straighten it perfect, and I'm not saying I won't do it, if I wanted to straighten it and make it perfect, I have to wipe a little bit of filler, and I'll use fiberglass about right here, and then it'd be perfect and be straight. And I may wind up doing it. Don't know yet. But as far as the body work, the collision, the dent fixing, or not the dent, but the Porta-Power work, it's done, and it works very well. I'm happy. Here's where I put that piece in there, push in against, like I was mentioning. So all I got to do now is grind this down. This seam here is bent just a little bit, flatten it back in a little bit this way, and we'll be done. So that's how to use it. Well, it's not really how to use a Porta-Power because I already set it up. That's what a Porta-Power can do for you. It's a nice tool. If you ever get in a situation where you're trying to move stuff around and bent metal and stuff like that, a Porta-Power can really come in handy. So that's it for now. I'll tag something else on the end of this video because it wasn't much of a video. So when I figure out what, I'll be back. Or, well, just leave it like it is and make it a short one. I know people like short videos. They seem to get more views. So, in case I end this one here, so thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something about a Porta-Power. I'm not sure how many of you guys have ever seen one before, or ever used one. Nice little tool. Thanks for being here. Do the subscribe and the like and leave a comment and all the YouTube stuff. And I'm talking to my head's off the camera. So I've noticed I talk a lot off not to the camera, which is not cool, but you know. So we'll do it the right way. So hope you learned something about using the Porta-Power. Hope it's a good little tool if you need it for something. And I'm trying to talk to the camera more instead of talking to the truck, because the truck can't talk back. Anyway, thanks for being here. Do the YouTube, do the like and subscribe and the comment, all the YouTube stuff. And I will see you next time. Y'all come back now, you hear?